Have you ever paused to ponder the vast amount of online content you consume in a day? Is it a mere hour, a couple of hours, or even as much as 5? Well, to answer that question, the average person devotes to a staggering 8 hours a day consuming online content. But now, let me ask you another question. Have you ever considered who labors behind the scenes, meticulously organizing and moderating the very content you consume? Is it solely the responsibility of the company or organization you engage with, or is there a hidden force, a mysterious third party entrusted with the task of purifying and curating this media? Technically, yes, it is the company, but it's a bit more complicated than that. In the world of social media and online platforms, there is a widespread belief that companies depend solely on automated systems or artificial intelligence to remove inappropriate content, creating a safe and clean browsing experience for new users. But is it really that straightforward? Is there more to this story than meets the eye? Well, let me say this. Someone else witnesses things, so you don't have to. Content moderation. If you didn't know, many companies have moderation teams specified to moderate the content that runs on their platforms, such as Facebook, who has up to 15,000 content moderators. There are many others like Google, who have similar sized moderation teams who moderate content on their platforms. Now, moderation for these huge platforms are quite important. It protects the platform's users, it upholds the community standards, prevents legal liability, and it pretty much fosters a more positive online community. Nonetheless, going back to these moderation teams, they are pretty much assigned to follow one main task: to make sure all the user-generated content is free from harmful and illegal content, but also to make sure that all generated content falls under the platform's guidelines as well. Now, to many, this might seem like easy work. All you basically have to do is just make sure that items are placed in the right category, are free from scams, don't include any illegal items, and simply follow guidelines. However, behind this simple social media moderator job lies a far deeper and sinister turn of events. Imagine a job where you see the worst of the worst and the most disturbing activities anyone can witness. So today, I plan to take you guys with me as we explore the bone-chilling dark side of being a content moderator. Currently, numerous prominent platforms continue to depend on content moderators to uphold their company standards. Despite significant advancements, AI systems are not yet sophisticated enough to independently moderate content. For instance, distinguishing between a joke and a serious matter may still pose a challenge for these systems. Consequently, companies must rely on human moderators to oversee the content. Facebook employs approximately 15,000 content moderators, while YouTube and TikTok boast an estimated 10,000 each. In contrast, Twitter has a comparatively modest number of 1,500 content moderators. So, now what exactly is a social media or content moderator? Content moderator is exactly how it sounds like how I explained in the intro. It's an individual who is responsible for reviewing, monitoring, and moderating the user-generated content on different online platforms. Their primary goal is to ensure that the content posted by users complies with the platform's guidelines. To my understanding, the average day of a content moderator sounds something along the lines of this. As a content moderator, you log into a special system or platform created by the company you work for. Once logged in, you are put into a queue where you access a list of content that needs to be reviewed. Each piece of content has been flagged as potentially problematic, and then it is presented to you. Sometimes you receive additional information about the content, but other times there may be limited context. Based on the guidelines provided by the company, you decide whether to delete or remove the content. After you make a decision and take the necessary action, you move on to the next item in the queue. This process continues throughout your workday as you review one piece of content after another. Essentially, you log in, review flagged content, decide what to do with it, and move on to the next item until your queue is basically empty. So whenever you're scrolling through your For You page on TikTok, just know that there is one person on the other side deleting and removing explicit content, so it doesn't show up on your end. However, many online platforms have different policies and guidelines, leading to noticeable differences in content quality and appropriateness. This discrepancy arises from each platform's unique perspective on what is deemed acceptable or unacceptable. What one platform may view as permissible, another may categorically reject it. As a result, certain platforms might tolerate different content that others would find objectionable.
Sometimes told to ignore disturbing content.
This one, when your daughter's first crush is a little Negro boy. And it's been around for quite a while. This is an ignore because it implies a lot, but to reach the actual violation, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get there. There's no attack actually on the Negro boy, it's implied, but my golden rule is like if you have to jump through too many hoops to actually get what you're trying to think the content says, you've probably gone too far. So for this one, we should ignore this. Is everyone okay with that? No.
It's also important to mention that most of these content moderators don't technically work at the platform they're moderating for. What do I mean by that? Well, most content moderators are working for a third-party contracting company, not the actual platform itself. This in turn leads to an unhealthy work environment, as the company you're moderating for probably does not care about you, and improving the experience of content moderators is never a big priority for these big companies anyways. In a 2019 article by The Verge, content moderators shared their workplace experiences, shedding light on a distressing environment. They described it as, "It is an environment where workers cope by telling dark jokes about committing suicide, then smoke weed during breaks to numb their emotions. It's a place where employees can be fired for making a few errors a week, and where those who remain live in fear of the former, colleagues who return seeking vengeance." In these toxic work environments, content moderators face an additional burden: the pressure of meeting work performance expectations. Companies typically employ specific metrics to evaluate the performance of their moderators. Two crucial factors come into play: productivity and accuracy. Productivity measures the number of cases successfully processed within a given time frame. Accuracy, on the other hand, pretty much refers to whether a supervisor could agree with the decisions made by the moderator after reviewing the resolved cases. Consequently, moderators find themselves under the pressure to handle cases swiftly while ensuring their decisions align with the expected standards of accuracy. Furthermore, content moderators also face the issue of significantly low compensation compared to other positions in the realm of social media. On average, these moderators earn around $15 per hour, with some even receiving as little as $13 per hour, while the highest pay reaches approximately $27 per hour. This translates to an annual salary range of $30,000 to $40,000. It's important to note that these figures are approximate, as different platforms and companies have varying payment structures for their employees. The toxic environment, the high performance work standards, and the low pay are all difficult challenges alone. But we haven't even discussed what content moderators witness in these content queues. these flagged pieces of content that you and I would never witness. Content that is casted out and should be thrown into the deepest parts of the internet. A realm that can be likened to a living nightmare. The high priority cues, the graphic violence, the child stuff, the exploitation, and the suicides. People working from home don't get that. The burden is put on us. You never know what is going to come next, and you have to watch it the full way through because they might have violators. It's not enough. I'm now seeing the content I view and work in my dreams. I remember it. I experience it again. And it is horrible. Inevitably, I have encountered numerous unsettling and disturbing phenomenons while traversing the vast expanse of the internet. Yet, I consciously refrain from immersing myself in the realm of gruesome and explicit content during my explorations. However, picture a profession where one's responsibility entails confronting the darkest phases of human existence, delving into the depths of the internet without the luxury of looking away. The weighty decision of whether to expose others to this concerning underbelly of the online world ultimately rests in your hands. That is the realm of being a content moderator. You come into work, sit at your desk, and start up the queue system. You are then presented with your first flagged content up for review. As the day goes on, the content gets worse and worse. You begin to see a variety of different disturbing content ranging from child abuse, rape, torture, bestiality, beheadings, suicide, murder, and much more. The content begins to be ingrained in your mind. You can't sleep as the images rewind in your mind over and over and over and over again. Like previously mentioned, what these content moderators are exposed to is quite horrendous. In 2022, an individual known as Ashley Velas, formerly a TikTok moderator, shared her first-hand experiences of moderating content for the platform. She expressed the deeply distressing nature of her role, revealing encounters with instances of death, explicit pornography, and the distressing sight of underage nudity on a daily basis. Shocking videos depicting violent acts, such as shootings and assaults, left her emotionally devastated for prolonged periods of time. Similarly, in a separate interview conducted in 2021, Isabella Plunkett, a former content moderator for Facebook, echoed the profound impact of her work on her well-being. She described how the graphic and disturbing content she had to evaluate became ingrained in her mind, haunting her even in her personal time. The nature of her job prevented her from easily disconnecting and moving on from the distressing materials she encountered on a daily basis. It is widely recognized that the experience of these content moderators who bear witness to such disturbing content for the sake of creating a safe and positive user experience can have long-lasting and haunting effects. Furthermore, these individuals are often bound by non-disclosure agreements, preventing them from sharing the challenges they face with their friends and family. They must remain silently enduring the physiological toll of their work. However, what adds another layer of complexity to these roles are the job descriptions themselves. They portray content moderation as an act of safeguarding and protecting the online platforms, emphasizing the review of graphic and controversial content in alignment with community guidelines. By employing terms like guardian and protector, these descriptions attempt to convince potential candidates that the work they are undertaking is virtuous. Undoubtedly, the work performed by content moderators serves a greater purpose, but it comes at a significant cost. Ashley Velis aptly captures this sentiment, stating, "People like us have to filter out the unsavory content. Somebody has to suffer and see this stuff, so nobody else has to." During an interview conducted by The Verge and Valuetainment, Sean Spiegel, a former Facebook moderator in 2018, provided a profound account of his experiences while working on the Facebook moderation team.
Walk away. What are some of the things you saw?
I saw a lot. The best way to explain it is if you've been to many of these sites, I know some of them are not around anymore, but there were sites such as Best Gore, Chaotic with a K, there was the Live Leaks, just these horrific acts that could range from child pedophilia to putting fireworks in a dog's mouth and then them setting it on fire, to fathers making their daughters have sex with pigs and then stabbing the pig while the daughter was having sex with the pig.
It's clear that exposure to such disturbing content can have profound physiological effects on individuals, leaving them vulnerable to emotional strain and trauma. In addition to the distressing nature of the content they encounter, the demanding work hours endured by content moderators drastically increases their negative toll on their well-being. According to a lawsuit filed against TikTok and ByteDance in 2021, TikTok's 10,000 content moderators are regularly exposed to child pornography, rapes, beheadings, and animal mutilation. Candy Fraser, a former TikTok moderator, experienced significant physiological trauma as a result of the content she was exposed to during her extensive work hours. Working tirelessly for 12-hour shifts with minimal breaks of 2 15-minute intervals and only an hour for lunch, undoubtedly this takes a profound toll on an individual's health. The physiological trauma suffered by content moderators is unfortunately not an uncommon case. Many individuals in similar roles develop post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental health issues. Recognizing this reality, some content moderation positions, such as those at Facebook and YouTube, require moderators to sign disclaimers acknowledging the potential for poor mental health and the risk of developing PTSD. These disclaimers state something such as, "It is possible that reviewing such content may impact my mental health, and it could even lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. I will take full advantage of the We Care program and seek additional mental health services if needed. I will tell my supervisor or my HR people advisor if I believe that the work is negatively affecting my mental health." The combination of enduring extensive work hours while being exposed to disturbing content amplifies the already significant mental health challenges faced by content moderators. The toll on their well-being is a grave concern that underscores the need for support and resources to address the physiological consequences of their work. Although many of these jobs do provide physiological assistance to help comfort the workers, it still isn't enough to deal with the things they see. You either burn out or become completely desensitized. The sheer volume of content generated on social media platforms makes it challenging to moderate effectively. Platforms receive millions of posts, comments, and messages daily, making it difficult for content moderators to review each piece of content thoroughly. Not to mention, they probably don't want to be looking at the nightmarish things on the screen in the first place. Along with that is the inconsistent moderation policies. Content moderation policies can be quite ambiguous and inconsistent. Platforms often struggle to define and enforce community guidelines, leading to inconsistencies in what is considered acceptable or unacceptable content. This lack of clarity can result in biased or arbitrary decision-making. Content sometimes can be influenced by the personal biases and subjective judgments of human moderators. These biases can manifest in uneven enforcement of policies, disproportionately targeting certain groups or viewpoints. As a result, employees can get punished for thinking something is bad, but the company might say, "It may look bad, but it doesn't violate our guidelines, so we'll just ignore it. In this exploration, we have delved into the deep side of content moderation and its profound impact on the lives of those who undertake this crucial role. We have witnessed the psychological toll, the lack of support and training, the disturbing content, and the occupational hazards that content moderators face daily. It is evident that the state of content moderation demands urgent attention and reformation. Now, of course, over time, things have gotten better for content moderators since all these cases have come out to the public, or at least companies say it has. All we can do is take their word for it. If you may have noticed, most of these cases were from years ago, with the latest one being the TikTok lawsuit that took place in 2021. We can only ensure the well-being of content moderators. It is important for social media platforms and technology companies to acknowledge their responsibility and take concrete actions. Until AI systems have the ability to moderate user-generated content alone, then human moderators will always be necessary. That is, if the platform wants a positive experience for users. My final thoughts on all of this is that platforms need a better collaboration with the content moderators themselves, so they can develop sustainable solutions that prioritize the well-being and rights of those on the front lines of content moderation. Again, these online moderators are human at the end of the day, and they play a very important role in safeguarding online communities. Because to be brutally honest, without them, many online platforms would be a very vile, disturbing wasteland.